Next thing I want to do is fret the neck. Now before we can do that, we've got sharp edges along the sides here which we want to get rid of. Now I've got some 600 grit, just a very high grit sandpaper that you can rub along the side here without it removing too much wood too quickly. I mean, you sand it to your preference really, whatever feels good. You just want to roll those edges over just so they feel nice in your hand. Now I also use the 600 grit that I used on the sides. I just give the fretboard a once over. You want to make sure that's nice and clean with no marks on it, because this is your last opportunity to really be able to sand it properly. As soon as the frets go in, it's very difficult to do anything, so you want to address anything beforehand. And we also want to clean the fret slots out for any dust that's built up in there. This is just a tool from Stu Mac with a little hook on it, and it just goes through the fret slots very easily and pulls out any dust or any crap that may have accumulated in there. The next step is to prepare the fret wire. So I buy it straight and I radius it myself. We use a little tool like this for radiusing, which is pre-bending the fret wire before we actually put the fret wire in. So you've got an adjustable wheel that goes up and down, and that determines the radius of the fret wire, or the radius of the bend I should say. So the first thing we want to do is clean the fret wire. When the fret wire comes from the factory, it has grease all over it during, I guess it's from the manufacturing process. It definitely needs to be cleaned off before you install it. That's just from one piece. So all I'm using to clean it is just some acetone on a paper towel. So what we do is we take the tang, which is the portion that seats down in the fretboard. We've got a wheel here that has a groove cut in it, and that accepts the tang. We feed it through, we get it started, and it starts radiusing the wire. Okay, that's one piece done. I've got a scrap fretboard here, and I'm going to use it to demonstrate what we're going to do with the frets. We're going to undercut the tang on each side of the fret before we insert it. That means this tang section here that pushes down into the fretboard, we're going to cut it off each side. So there's only the center section that presses down, and then we're going to level it to the side of the fretboard, and then we're going to fill the slot that's left with rosewood dust. So in effect what you get is, you just, from the side, you just see the top of the fret. You don't see any tang on the side. Now, it's not the sort of thing you would normally find on a guitar that you buy, because it's labour intensive. So that's one of the things you can do when you build your own guitars, is you can do whatever you want. I mean, instead of it taking me 25 minutes to fret a neck, it might take me 2 hours, but I mean, it's my own time, and I'm happy to do it because of the results you get at the end. So what we use is some tang nippers. So this, we'll just do a quick mock-up so you can see. Let's get a piece of fret wire. Now you can see that's oversized slightly, just on either side. What we're going to do is remove a portion of the tang either side. So we're just going to cut in there, and we're going to cut in there. And we'll do the other side as well. Alright, you can see the tang has been removed either side. When that slots in, you can see I've just undercut it either side of the fretboard, so it's not going to hang out the side once it's put in. we'd normally cut the sides off. So what you end up with is a tang that's set in from the side of the fretboard. So when we level down the side of the fretboard to level the edges of the frets and round the frets over, we can then just fill that with rose dust, or in this case this is ebony fretboard, but it will hide the tangs on the side. So that's what we intend to do on the fretboard that we're building now. So I've got all the frets cut, and now I'm just going to cut the tangs on each one. So I'll just pop it in, see how much I need to remove. So I've just removed enough tang there to be hidden inside the fretboard. So I'll just go through and I'll do every fret the same way. So before you start fretting, if you've got a little triangular file, it's a good idea to just run it gently through the slots, just lightly, just put a slight bevel in the slot here. It helps the fret to seat properly. So this is our fret press. It's just a 1-ton press, and I just drilled into the top here so I could insert the StewMac fretting coil. So you've got a little aluminium insert depending on the radius of the neck that you're fretting. So that's got 12 in it because we're doing a 12-inch radius on the neck. And I just have a little very basic table that I assemble underneath it, like so. And the neck goes under like so, and we pop the fret in and we just press it down. So that's the first fret in. We just trim those sides off now. So if you find the neck's deflecting too much and you're not able to press the fret in, you can get a fretting coil, which is it's just a hollowed out piece of wood basically with some cork in it, and you can sit the neck in that and it gives it some support at the bottom. But on this neck, there's not much benefit to be had with that because I've very barely taken anything off the neck. So we've fretted the neck, and the frets are all in nicely, but of course we've got rough edges all the way along here, both sides where we've cut the frets, so we need to sand them flat with the edge of the fretboard. And we do that with a little file like that. Alright, so what we were doing was just leveling the edges of these frets level with the fretboard. So I mean, you don't want frets sticking out when you're moving your hand up and down the fretboard. So they're all level now, up and down. So the next thing we need to do is bevel the fret ends. It's just a file at an angle, and we just run it up and down. Alright, so one side's done. Now, I'm not a big fan of heavily beveled frets. I prefer to put a slight bevel on it and then just round it over, and you've got more fret area, more playing area on your guitar neck. I mean, I take the corners off, but I don't go 35 degrees or whatever a lot of people do. I just think that's pretty extreme. So anyway, we'll do the other side, and then we can start filling the fret slots. Before we go any further, I've got some thin super glue, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run a bead into each of these fret slots, and then I'm going to flip the neck, and I'm going to do the same from the other side. So that'll wick in, and it'll glue the frets into the fretboard. So I'm just working the rose dust down into the fret slot. You can feel it gradually filling up as you keep packing it in there. Now what I tend to do is just leave a mound on top of the fret slot and just put a drop of super glue on top. Well, it looks pretty messy, but of course it's got to be sanded flush. Now I've just got a very fine file here. And that's the look we're going for. You've got just a little dark slot there. Now what's going to happen is the fretboard's going to be lacquered as well, so this is all going to be darkened up as well, and then you'll have this nice dark little slot under each fret. I think it looks quite good. Alright, so now we've got the neck fretted, it's time for final shaping of the neck. And I'm going to take the back down a little bit more than what I've currently got, and I'm probably going to reshape the back of the headstock and the back of the heel as well. So we'll get stuck into that now. So I'm in the middle of thinning the neck down, and I'm going to redo this transition and make it a little bit more rounder. I wasn't really happy with the way the sharper transition I had before, so I've actually thinned the neck out as well. So I've got to redo this transition, and then I can blend it all down on the sides. I've changed the profile on the back. For what I did was I just used the inside of my tape roll to get a nice arc here, so I'm just blending this in as well. Okay, well, I kind of like the shape where we're at now. I've taken quite a bit of meat off the back since I originally shaped it. So, to give you an idea, you can see there's quite a bit that's come off towards the headstock, and it tapers back towards the heel. So, first fret is 20.64 or 0.81 of an inch. 12th fret is 0.875 or 22.3 mil at the 12th fret. So there's still a lot of file marks on here, especially around the transitions where I can't get the scraper in. So it's time to start sanding it. So I've just got some 120 grit here. So I'll keep using the 120 until I remove all of the scratches from the rasp from the file. and then I'll switch out to 220. It's just a matter of holding it up to the light, and you can soon see if there's any scratches still there, and there are, so I need to keep going. If you see some really fine scratches that are really hard to see, if you put a bit of pencil in there, obviously you can see it a lot easier, and you know once you've removed the pencil that you've got rid of the mark there. And we just want to soften the edges as well on all of the corners, just so there's not a sharp edge there anymore. I'm using 320. And you can feel when the edge is gone. The last thing you want to do is be buffing your guitar and you burn through on a corner here, straight back to bare wood. So if you round it over, you can get a bit of lacquer to build up on there. Alright, so just pretty much round it over all the corners there. Just run your hands around and make sure it's uniform all over. And you want to do that on the front as well. Alright, well this is the finished neck, ready for some lacquer. So it's come out really nice. It's a lot thinner than what I originally started. So I've just taped the fretboard up. I've left the sides of the fretboard exposed. I'm just going to wipe it down very lightly with a damp cloth. I just want to raise the grain on this maple. I'll just give that a little while now. Alright, so that's dried for a couple of hours now, and it's very obvious that it's feeling a lot rougher now, so I can sand that back, and then we can start, we can put a couple of coats of clear on to seal it. So I've got some pre-cat lacquer that I'm going to spray this with. It's a clear, so there's no tint in it at the moment, and it's thinned down a lot. There's probably 20% lacquer and 80% thinness, and I'm just going to spray a couple of coats on the maple just to seal it. So yesterday I sprayed a couple of sealer coats on the neck, and then I laid down a couple of heavier coats, and that's what we've got so far. Now at this point I'm just going to sand it back. I just want to see where we are in terms of anything that may need filling. I just want to establish a really good base coat before I go on and start putting any tint on the neck. Now I'm not going to tint it that much. I mean, it's very pale, but I quite like the colour of it. I may darken it up with just a little bit of amber, and probably maybe a mix of amber and tobacco brown, just to give it a little bit of colour, but I'm certainly not going to go for like a vintage tinted neck. So I'll start sanding this back and we'll see what state we're in. Right, so this is all sanded out now, and it gives you a pretty good idea of where you're at in terms of everything being flat and level. I mean, any little shiny spots that you have indicate you've got a low spot there. So I've sanded it flat. I don't want to take any more off because I don't want to hit bare wood, but I'm going to put some more clear coats on today, and that should build it up enough that I can level it out tomorrow and level it completely flat. And then we've got a good starting point for putting the tint coats on and for finishing up with the clear coats. So that's what I'll do now. So I'm just going to mix up a really light tint, and I've got some vintage amber here. Now I want 4 drops of that, and to that I'm going to add 1 tobacco brown. That's it. So that's a 4-to-1 ratio. Okay, so I've just added about 1/3 of the mixture that we made up into our clear coat here, and we've got a very nice amberish colour, ambery brown toffee colour almost, which is it's not very dark, but I plan to put multiple coats on and build the colour up to where I need it to be, rather than go with a strong tint and run the risk of putting it on too thick and blotchy. I'd rather put multiple coats on and just have it a little bit lighter to begin with and build the colour up. So this is the neck all sanded flat now. It's got like a satin finish on it. I mean, you could leave it like this. You could buff that out as it is if you wanted. It's got lacquer on there. You hit that with some compound and that'd come up very, very nice. But I just want to add a little bit more colour into the neck. So we're going to put some tint coats on there now. So I've got the tint mixed up. I'm going to spray, say, 2 coats and then give it a little while, see how it looks, and just keep adding coats until I get the colour I'm after, which isn't a particularly dark tint I'm after. I'm going to keep it light, but I definitely want to put some colour on there. So I'll spray a couple of coats and then you can see what it looks like. So that's just 1 coat on so far. It's still wet, so I'm probably not going to need more than 2 or 3, I'd say. And this is after the 2nd coat, so you can see we're starting to build a bit of colour up on it. I think I'll probably put 1 more tint coat on it and call it a day. Alright, now that's the 3rd coat, so I'm not going to put any more colour on there. That's enough. So we'll just let that dry. We can put a decal on as well, and then we can start to put the clear coats on.